Good morning, everybody. This is Bernadette Wagner with Prime Time for Women. Um, I actually, I can't see you. Can you see me, Renee?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm not going to worry about it then. We are here with Renee Bergen from the Maryland Public Defender's Office. She's joining us today to talk about Maryland, the state of Maryland's voting right restoration legislation, which was passed in 2016. And part of the reason why we're having her on the program today is there's a lot of people that are unfamiliar with this legislation, which is meant to both ensure full participation for voting rights in our democracy and also to ensure public safety. So Renee, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're able to make it. So Renee, before we get talking about this voters' rights restoration, I can't get that out today. Yeah, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your position at the Maryland Public Defender's Office.
Yes. So I am a licensed certified social worker, clinical / forensic social worker / mitigation specialist. So I've been employed with the agency for 13 years. And during my tenure there, I am responsible for meeting with juvenile and adult clients that are involved in the legal system, males and females, all ages. And what I do is I interview clients, and then I can either connect them to resources in the community, or for the more higher profile cases per se, I meet with clients, I collect records, I interview family members, I interview friends, and I perform a mitigation report, or I present a mitigation report to the court. The mitigation report helps to identify themes in a person's life that has most likely led them to becoming involved in the legal system. It's an aspect of the legal system that for a long time was very overlooked. And so it basically tells that person's story. As we know, everybody has a story. And for a lot of people, those stories get untold. And so my role in the legal system is to ensure that that person's story is told. A lot of the themes are trauma, poverty, and some of the same things that I see continually, grief, areas that, again, are often overlooked and untold.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit, your job is to move people beyond seeing the criminal act to seeing what's behind that criminal act, so that it's putting it in context, right? It's providing a full picture of this person.
Very much so. Very comprehensive, very detailed. And I do a lot of research also that provides statistics and, again, kind of ties in those themes. And in some situations, it can offer an alternative to a longer sentence. Obviously, that decision is ultimately up to the judge, but at least whenever the judge makes the decision in regards to a sentencing, they are better informed.
Right. So part of the reason why we're here today is because Prime Time for Women is really interested in this idea. We say all the time, every woman has a story, every woman deserves to be seen and heard. And of course, we know that's not just true of women, but that is the focus of our organization. But in talking with you, it was really about making sure that every person has a chance to be seen and heard through the voting box, right? That everybody gets a chance to participate that can possibly can. And back in 2016, Maryland passed House Bill 980 and created legislation that allowed 40,000 people who had been formerly disenfranchised from voting to allow them to vote again. There's very specific guidelines in this legislation about who can vote, and I was wondering if you could take a few minutes to talk about the legislation and then also talk about how this legislation changed and who now is able to participate in the voting process.
Yes. So prior to the passing of the bill, which restored voting rights to individuals involved in the legal system, Senator Joanne Benson from Baltimore sponsored the bill. And it was then later vetoed by Governor Hogan, but then it was overrode. I think that's the proper pronunciation, but it was later overrode in March of 2016. And it gave people it restored voting rights to those, like I said, previously involved or even currently involved in the legal system. And a lot of people were not aware of that. And what I found is that also there still is a lot of people that are just not aware of it. I myself, as someone who works in the legal system, I was not made aware of it until the fall of 2018. So that was more than 2 years had gone by and I had no idea. And none of my social work colleagues with the agency, no one knew. And so I really feel that though there was certain media outlets that provided that information, it was not widespread.
Right, right. So maybe you could talk about specifically who can vote now, who this legislation brought back into the voting process.
So one of the extremely important aspects of this bill getting passed is that if we want returning citizens to become individuals who get jobs and who are able to get jobs and pay taxes and feel like they have a voice, then we need to make sure that they also have the right to vote.
Right. I saw a letter that was written by Carl Wickland, who is the executive director of the American Parole and Probation Association. And he, in his letter, stressed how participating in the voting process and just civic engagement in general can aid in the re-entry process. And so it's like, okay, you have done something wrong, but now you've served your time and you're out. How do you get re-engaged? And this is one of the ways that's most effective in getting people on the path to, recovering, or I'm not sure the right terminology from a social worker point of view, but it really does engage people. So tell us about who can vote and who can't.
Sorry, I don't know if it came through, but I was getting a call, so I got a little distracted there. And
we missed your picture for a while, so I
But so the individuals that can vote, and this is kind of where it gets tricky in regards to being understanding the terminology, because I had to educate the Board of Elections, state and locally, 2 years ago in the fall of 2018, because of the terminology and thinking that certain people can't vote whenever they actually can. So, all right. So if someone is on probation or parole, that individual can vote. If someone is incarcerated and awaiting trial, or if someone is awaiting trial, they can vote. If someone has been sentenced on a misdemeanor and is serving a sentence, whether it's house arrest, day reporting center, or in jail or prison, that person can vote. The only individual that is not eligible to vote is someone who is serving an active sentence in jail or prison on a felony conviction. So, for example,
Wait, before you go on, also, let's just say that people who have served a felony and are now out of prison, they also can vote.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
I just want to get those 4 groups out there. Okay, go ahead, take it away.
So, and one of the tricky charges, I'll say, is second degree assault. Assault, kind of, and second degree assault is very broad. But the word assault itself sounds physical and violent. However, because of the broadness of second degree assault, that is anything from spitting to hitting. Now, second degree assault carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. So that means that I could get an 8-year sentence on a second degree assault and be serving my time in prison rather than jail, and I still have the right to vote.
Because that's not considered a felony charge.
Correct. Yep.
So this is such a really important piece of information to get out there. And one of the other things, I read a quote from a guy named Perry Hopkins, who is an organizer with Communities United, and he himself served in prison a sentence for a felony and is now out working, paying taxes, voting, doing everything a citizen does. But he says, from the minute you are released from prison, you are able to pay taxes. You are working to reintegrate back into society in a productive way, and you deserve the full rights of citizenship. It's just that simple. And Maryland's General Assembly did the right thing in restoring our rights to vote. And you know, one of the things I wanted to say to you, Renee, is I appreciate your advocacy for those who need to know this information and for your day-to-day support of those who are in the criminal justice system and looking for ways to be more fully engaged in a positive way in our culture and in our society. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate you as well. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to get the word out.
Yeah, and before you go, I was just wondering if there's, can you share a website or maybe any other information where folks can go and look up more information about this topic?
So I would encourage people, there's several websites out there. The first one would be the ACLU of Maryland website. That offers lots of information on voting and people knowing their rights and things like that in Maryland. There's also the Headcount website, Rock the Vote, Get Out the Vote, and if people just Google ACLU of Maryland or ACLUofMaryland.com, they'll find lots of information.
Yeah, and there's one other website that I was looking into. It's the BrennanCenter.com. And they do some really important work, not just here in Maryland, but across the country. And I just want to say to our viewers, appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, you can contact Renee. Do you have an email address that they can ask specific questions?
Yes, I can give my email address. And let me also just say also, there's one more website, a Baltimore website, a Baltimore organization called Out for the number 4 Justice. And so they've been also instrumental in ensuring that people know that they have the right to vote. My contact information is Renee, R-E-N-E-E, .Burgan, B-U-R-G-A-N, @verizon.net. I would also encourage people that have access to Facebook to also look up any of those organizations on Facebook as well. There's lots of information out there about the restoration of voting rights. And if anybody also has a preference for Facebook over email, please look me up on Facebook. I'd be more than happy, just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to further discuss or provide any information that I have.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being on Mindful Monday. Prime Time for Women encourages everybody to vote, regardless of who you vote for. That's not the important thing. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about exercising your right to vote because you matter. Thanks so much, Renee. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Thanks so much.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.